This place needs to be shut the hell down. They are essentially packed into cages, wall-to-wall humans, 32 detainees per cage. There are 3 tiny toilets that are toilet units that have a sink attached to it. So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water and they brush their teeth where they poop in the same unit.
People who continue to support Alligator Alcatraz, you should be ashamed. The people who voted for this, who are you? Wake up, have some empathy. I don't understand. It is completely mind-blowing to realize how many people agree with this. How many people agree that we can just continue to repeat history again and again and refuse to acknowledge the injustices that are happening in these camps. Like, what would you be saying if this was somebody that you knew? Like, this was your family member. It's not okay that you don't even try to have that perspective until it touches you. Like, we need to take all of these accounts, all of these stories, and listen to them. Or else we're just going to keep repeating history time and time again. I beg of you, spread awareness. Share these stories out. Have a voice. Don't be a scared little bitch. Okay? That's what they want you to be. They want you to shut your phone off and just move on with your life. No. Like I said, fucking wake up, spread awareness, speak with your heart. Anyways, just keep fucking going. We're gonna keep going and shut down every single one of these detainment camps, because that's not how we treat each other.
What we saw were caged humans. They're not being truthful. This is a black ops site.
Hey everyone, I'm here today with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz from South Florida, who just this past weekend went and toured the facility of Alligator Alcatraz, the internment camp detention facility in South Florida. Tell us more about what you saw.
They got wind that we were going to do an unannounced tour on Saturday, and so instead they threw together a pre-planned tour, sent emails to all the state legislators, all the members of Congress, and showed us what they chose to show us. We saw a sanitized view for sure, and the sanitized view couldn't even be cleaned up enough to not shock your conscience. 32 to a cage, all men, 3 small toilets, where literally the detainees have to brush their teeth while leaning over their toilet where they defecate and urinate. And that's also where they get the sink where they get their drinking water. The cruelty here is the point, Haley. The cruelty is the point. The stunt. This entire thing is being done for show, for a stunt, as a spectacle. It's a budget boondoggle. Imagine this is an hour and a half into the Everglades. They have to truck in every single thing. There's no infrastructure out there. This is a airstrip overgrown by the Everglades. On top of that, we've spent hundreds of billions of dollars restoring the Everglades. And this is doing damage to that. And they are infringing on sacred tribal lands as well.
Breaking news, everyone. This is the toilet where we poop and pee, right? This is the water that feeds into that toilet, right? This reservoir is connected to the toilet bowl. The water is connected. The congressman that went to Alligator Alcatraz reported yesterday that the migrants and people detained there are having to drink the water from this reservoir, essentially, that is connected to the toilet that they poop in. Would you drink this water? No, I don't think so. And they're being forced to. Now, this is one of the many, many violations and human rights abuses going on at Alligator Alcatraz, and this needs to be stopped. This is not right. They're human beings. Whether they're here legally or illegally, this is not how we treat detainees in the United States of America. Let me know if you agree. Like if you do. Comment what you think about this. Share, spread the word. Everyone needs to know about the abuses going on at this death camp in the United States.
This place has been in the headlines for weeks now, but a group of lawmakers finally toured Alligator Alcatraz migrant facility in Florida, and what they saw was extremely horrifying, guys. This place was already controversial just based on location alone, because it's literally a tent city in the middle of the Everglades surrounded by swamps, alligators, and panthers. No roads, no infrastructure, nothing. But now, thanks to this visit, we have confirmation of just how bad it really is. Lawmakers said that they saw 32 men crammed into each cage. Not dorms, not rooms, Cages. They described unbearable heat. Even with air conditioning, the temperature was sitting around 85 degrees inside those tents, and that is before you even factor in Florida's humidity. They said there were bugs everywhere, the food was barely edible, and just reheated slop. And there were nowhere near enough toilets for the number of people there. One person actually had to be hospitalized because they drank what they thought was water. Turns out it was fucking contaminated with Clorox bleach. They also said that they heard detainees crying out for freedom and that the whole tour felt staged, like officials were trying to cover up the worst parts, which I believe. And remember, this place costs $450 million per year. That's what our government is spending to warehouse human beings in cages in the middle of nowhere, where they can't escape, can't call for help, and have no real legal support. Republicans are calling it clean and efficient, even comparing it to military camps, guys. But let's be honest. If this was happening anywhere else in the world, we would be calling it a human rights violation, because this isn't just bad policy, it's inhumane. If you think any person deserves to be treated like this just because they crossed a fucking border, you need to take a long, hard look at your soul, because this is not justice.
Here's why, even if you don't live in Florida, you should care that they put a detention center in the middle of the Everglades. And I'm going to talk about this from a money standpoint, because you know what? Money talks, and everybody cares about their taxes, right? So first of all, let's talk about how much this facility costs just to have been built, for it to be temporary, and then just to bus in everyday supplies and water and all these things and waste management, because this location is about an hour and a half away from the city. So that costs a lot of money and time and resources to maintain, aside from it housing tons of people. So that's what your taxes are going to. And second, no matter what state you live in, your taxes go to Everglades restoration. Yes. Billions of dollars over the years from federal and state funds from Florida have gone into Everglades restoration to try to bring the ecosystem back to what it was before we started draining Florida. And you paid that. And this detention center, which we know will have some kind of ecological effect on the Everglades, which is already such a sensitive system, is gonna bring us steps back. So you know what that means? More of your tax dollars wasted, because we're just moving 10 steps back from all the work that we've been doing on the Everglades. Again, we're talking roadkill, we're talking nutrient runoff, and we're talking light pollution, we're talking noise pollution. All of these things affect the nutrient load in the Everglades, which is an immense deal. And then, of course, wildlife behavior, which is what we're trying to also fix. So if you're one of those people that you're like, oh, whatever, that's in Florida, they're crazy over there, they do whatever they want. Well, you know what? You're paying for it. You're paying for it in two ways. You're paying for the actual facility, and then you're paying for the cleanup. And you've been paying for the cleanup. You've been paying for Everglades restoration. So you don't want to waste your money. You don't want this to be happening. So, I don't know.
Alligator Alcatraz is not a concentration camp. It is a prison. Even the description by the Democratic officials who went over there described an American prison. And if you're concerned about the conditions of these illegal immigrants, well, then you should focus your concern on the American citizens that are in the prisons that we have today. Because it ain't no better. In fact, they're worse. You know, we got prisons in Texas with no AC. And I don't know if you've ever been here in the summertime, but you need AC. You can't even sleep on the beds that they provide. You got to sleep on the floor because them motherfuckers will burn the shit out of your skin. So no, I don't feel sorry about the conditions that these illegal immigrants put themselves into. It was a personal choice that they made, just like a criminal does here in America when he commits a crime. It's a personal choice. Now, here's the problem that I have when it comes to these liberals and their emotional responses. You're focused on the wrong shit. You do the crime, you do the time. It's a saying for a reason. So trying to argue with a rational person about somebody committing crime and having to do the time, we're going to close our ears off because you talking unrationally. But now, if you was to redirect your message and talk about the fact that it's only Hispanic and Latinos, well, now we're talking. Now you have a conversation, a rational one, And that is something that we can all visualize and see, that there is more than one race that come over here illegally. And the fact that they're only chasing down one, that is a problem.
Hey everyone, Eric Kelly here with more breaking news. Stephen Miller, Trump's deputy chief of staff, is now calling on all red states to begin building their own version of Alligator Alcatraz. Kristi Noem says 5 Republican-led states may already be working on it. Let's be clear, they're trying to replicate a facility where people are being held in cages under 24/7 floodlights, stripped of religious freedoms, denied medical care, and surrounded by mosquitoes, alligators, and rising floodwaters. One lawmaker said it flat out, this is an internment camp. And now they want to build more across the entire country. This is not immigration enforcement. This is a blueprint for authoritarianism. We need to keep speaking out before it's too late. Share